Hi everyone, it's Chris, and I just wanted to talk quickly about the four main reasons that face-to-face engagements and interaction are superior to remote. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of validity in using remote, there's a lot of cost saving, it can be very good in terms of time and money, um, and the e-learning and remote discussions and all the other ways that we communicate are fantastic with the technology we have these days. We now have the ability to just reach out around the world and exchange ideas and knowledge very, very quickly and easily. So there's a lot of supplemental or situational use there. But inevitably, however, face-to-face is always going to win in terms of quality and what you get out of it, because this is how humans work, right? There's a reason that thought leaders fly to conferences all the time, that I go and do presentations at companies or go to other countries or whatever, right? There's a reason that directors of boards go in to meet. There's a reason that training is statistically much better when you are, sitting in a class with a teacher as opposed to remotely. And I've run these remotely, I've run them in person, I've run a mix of these things over different levels, and just always face to face has been much better. And as I mentioned, there are four main reasons for this, right? So the first of these is the human connection. Now, this is really important. You get a much deeper sense of bond with somebody that you meet. You can tell much more about them when you meet them in person, as opposed to when you see them on a flat video, kind of like this. You get a sense of whether you can trust them. You get a sense of how honest they are. And these things are important for how much credence you give to what they say, how much that will affect your own knowledge, and so on. We get a much better personal connection. Empathy is much deeper mutually. EQ is a really important part of this. That's why you go to a job interview in person, right? Usually you can do it remotely, but very often people are more interested in a fit rather than, just the dry data. So it's very important. What we're really talking about here is engagement, of course, right? So this is the level of engagement, and it's always going to be superior in person. The other part of this also is to do with the reading of your audience, right? If I'm teaching or I'm speaking or I'm doing whatever, if people are there, like here, I don't know what you're doing or what you're thinking or what you're saying, but if you're there in front of me, I've got much better interactivity with you. It's a much better feeling, and I can change or accommodate what I'm doing to suit the audience, which is something you can't do like this, right? I can't do that. So that's very important. That's number one. Number two, remember that learning happens in three domains, okay? So it's not just cognitive, it's also affective, which is, emotion, and it's to do with kinesthetic as well, which is physical. So you get body language and you get undertones and overtones, and you get far more from people in person. So that's really important. Number three, of course, you also get the continuity and the context around what you're going to be learning or trying to pass on or whatever, right? So in person, it's much better. If you go to a conference as opposed to logging in remotely, you've got the possibility of a pre-session discussion, post-session discussion, more queries and chats, networking with other people, other students, other speakers, other, whatever, teachers, whatever it is, right? And all of this boils down to something very important, which I speak about a lot, which is narrative. Humans use narrative in person all the time. It's a very fundamental part, it's a core part of how we operate, right? Narrative's important, and it's always better in person. A number of studies, and this is number four, have also backed all of this up, right? So this is scientifically backed up as well. So a good example is Washington community colleges. They have more students drop out and fewer get a passing grade from any of the online courses than they did in person. So it really does make a difference. And again, I've seen this myself, running through all of my classes and so on. So this also makes a difference kind of in the context of what you're doing. So for this kind of thing, basic knowledge share, I can reach out to you very quickly and lodge an idea, and you can say, okay, thanks, Chris, and you go and do something else. But if I was training or coaching, this would not be optimal. If I was mentoring, I need to have very high processing, very high oversight. I need a very close, good connection mutually, one-to-one or one-to-few. It's just, you wouldn't be able to do it really, doing it like that. So that also can, make a big difference. And when you look at how narratives work in humans, one of the last kind of reasons, I guess, which is something good to note, is that, it's much more effective in person because of how we learn, right? And how we swap ideas and mutually share knowledge. Context is key. Look at how many things are mistaken when they're written on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it happens to be, right? Or things are taken the wrong way. When you don't have that personal connection, you don't have that context. So it's really important as well. Anyway, those are just some of the reasons it's better face-to-face. I'm sure you can think of a few more. You're welcome to write some in the comments. If you want to look at more of what I do, you can go to involvemetraining.com, or you can add me on Twitter or LinkedIn and follow me. But until then, thanks for watching and take care out there.